Hello, everybody out there in Facebook land, TikTok world, YouTube, everywhere. There's going to be a clip of this going live and in charge. Wake up, America! It is time for 412 Productions. The Art of Monty Anderson. I am your host here at 412 Productions, the Art of Monty Anderson, and welcome to the broadcast booth, everybody. Welcome. Yeah. Today's title is Interesting Turn of Events. Very interesting turn of events. Let me get over here to Facebook and turn this live. And that way, we got all that going down too. All right. Once I get that, I'll get back over to the other side. There we go. All right. Welcome to the broadcast booth, everybody. Hopefully, you're all having a great time out there. Interesting turn of events is today's title. And all when you're trying to watch a football game. This all happened Saturday evening during the Oklahoma Sooner game, the dismantling of the Tennessee, whatever they are, the Bulls or I don't know, Volunteers. Doesn't matter. They're not my football team. And technically, Oklahoma isn't my football team either. It's just the one I support since I grew up in Oklahoma back in the day. All right. So, interesting turn of events. So hopefully everybody got through spooky season all right, got through Halloween. Now, some of us still live in the Halloween side of things, meaning that, we still decorate for Halloween on a regular basis. We still got our spooky stuff up. We don't take all the stuff down like everybody else does. And just make sure Roy doesn't pop up over here like he usually does sometimes. Oh, look, Mr. Roy is on the right side of the world this morning. Congratulations, Mr. Lacquer Lover. But good morning there, Roy. As today's title implicates, it is Interesting Turn of Events. So, what's up, buddy? We're going to talk about the whole experience of happening on Saturday afternoon while watching, the now number 11 Oklahoma Sooners after their dismantling of Tennessee, a ranked team that was above them. All right. So sitting there watching the game, and it's later in the evening because the game started at 6:30. And sitting there, the next thing I know, it sounds like World War III broke out. It sounded like my house was caving in. It sounded like the roof fell in. It sounded like all that good stuff. And it was just like, what the fuck is going on? So I get up. The girlfriend was trying to sleep because she was going to be going to work the next morning. And we're trying to figure out what it was. We don't see anything. We're walking the house, turning lights on. Nothing. Can't find squat. Well, then we decide, let's go outside, see what's going on out there. Get outside, and there's a tree on the house. Right up against the house. And good morning, Mr. Casey. Talking about my fun time this weekend. And so go outside, and the neighbor's tree had fallen into the house. It kind of hit the roof, all that good stuff, and just kind of scraped down the side of the house. But don't forget to like, share, and follow, please. Um, and but it sounded like it had ripped the entire house apart when it came down. Uh, I mean, literally, it sounded like if you had some heavy boxes with glass and other stuff in it, and somebody were to come in and just shove that stuff over and it went everywhere. That's exactly what it sounded like. And but luckily, no damage was done. There was a little bit of damage to the fence, but nothing that can't be repaired. One of the old 2x4s kind of snapped in half where the tree fell on the fence. And basically, it's a better made fence than we actually thought it was. We were giving it credit for. and uh, and so most of the weight of the tree was actually resting on one branch on the fence, and that was a section that I actually had reinforced with a, I think it was a 2x8 or a 2x6, um, until I can get it properly fixed. But we ended up chopping it all up last night. Gonna let it season and have some good firewood for next year. We we want to say it's ash wood, but we're not 100% sure. It's really pretty wood on the inside. So we are going to make some cutting boards and some bowls and stuff like that. And my Elvira beanie, my Elvira, Mistress of the Dark beanie. Yes, it's a great beanie. I love it too, and much appreciated. And yeah, glad not getting have any extreme damage, but yeah, no, I mean it drove spikes from that tree 1 foot into the ground. Because once we got it all cut up and separated out and started pulling stuff out of the ground, I mean, we had a total foot of tree branches that were dug into the ground. That's how hard it hit, and yeah, the only thing it did to the roof line was whenever it hit and then bounced back up, it kind of just pushed a couple of the edge uh, shingles up off the roof. But other than that, it did really no damage whatsoever to the house, which I was kind of surprised. And even the neighbors were surprised because they were like, "But if it did damage the house, we'll take care of it." And I was like, there's no damage." And like I told them, had it damaged the house, it would have been even more reason to expand the house out the way I wanted to in the first place. uh, so, and let's hope, because I know they're in a world of hurt right now, and our defense sucks. So, but that's our excitement. That was our excitement for this weekend. Um, so she called in and helped chop up the tree as best we could. We had a lot of chainsaw issues going on last night with everybody's chainsaws. Even borrowed a friend of mine's 44-inch chainsaw, and man, it was uh, it was a rough go on chainsaws yesterday. At first, we couldn't get the neighbor started. Mine was going fine. Couldn't get the girlfriend started. Then we decided it was probably just the gas because it was stalling out most of our chainsaws. So we ended up emptying the gas out of everything and putting new gas in, and that seemed to help. And then my pull string broke. And then whenever we tried to fix the pull string, the whole guts of it just exploded. I hate pull strings. Give me a push start any day. They need push starts on chainsaws because this whole it's ridiculous. But but the chainsaws worked like a champ, did what they were supposed to do, and we got it all cut up. Even cut down the big section that was still hanging on his side of the fence, and it's all on my side of the fence. He was like, "I'm not keeping any of it, so if you want it," he was like, "But I really do hate, to throw it all on your side of the fence." I said, don't worry about it. I'll clean it up and get all the small stuff chopped up and all that good stuff. Yeah, that's what I've been told my whole life. I can't tell you what they said in the military because it's derogatory, but it's a special strength, is what they called it in the military. No one liked to do any combative drills with me or clinch drills or anything like that. So, because they always said I went fast and furious, and I was going half speed most of the time. So yeah, it was just like, whatever. So again, I can't say what they called it in the military. So, but we still got a lot of stuff going on. I've got one page penciled in for the Condry Man's Best Friend, which is a one-shot ash can edition to fill in some gaps in the Condry universe. Um, I've got 3 of the 5 paintings started. I've got to seal the memorial piece, like I said, like I talked about the last time. Oh, did any spooky stuff happen to you guys on Halloween? Since we didn't talk on Halloween, we talked the day after. Because because today is Monday the 3rd. And let's see, anything happening this month for you guys? The funny thing is, on that, I did. I was the only one that was like, screw it. If they want to be treated the same, we'll treat them the same. We had a female in our combatives course, and she was an amputee, and we, you know, were there and doing the combative. Nobody wanted to do it, you know, do the combatives drills with her, and I was like, I'll go, and they were like, okay, and she was like, don't treat me any different than anybody else. Okay, I won't. And I didn't, and she was appreciative of that because, like I said, nobody wanted to do the whole combatives drill with her, and I'm like, you're a soldier. What difference does it make? You know, you're fighting for our country. You've already paid the ultimate price, with your Purple Heart and all that good stuff, and there's no sense in treating you any different. Yeah, I've got you by 100 pounds easy, but if this is what you want, this is what you want. So we rolled. Yes, I let her win a few, but she was cool. I can't even tell you what her name is, but no, and she's not one of those that kept in contact with because she wasn't part of our unit, part of our training group, and all of that good stuff. But it was a cool experience to do that type of a situation where they don't want to be treated any different, so you don't treat them any different. But nobody else wanted to do that because, well, I'm going to treat her different because she's a girl. Well, why? She's a soldier. What difference does it make? You know. But yeah, there's that. So Roy, you wouldn't be the first that I've rolled with. Oh wait, did I just call you a girl? Love you, bro. All right. So, did anything happen to you guys? I mean, I know we talked a little bit on the first about the end of spooky season, Halloween being over, and everything. Everybody starting to put their decorations away and transition. But now I see where Spirit Halloween has a Spirit Christmas now. They still have the spooky elements just for Christmas side. So if ours switches over to Spirit Christmas, I'm gonna have to go check that out. Because my Christmas tree, which doesn't go up until after Thanksgiving. I'm sorry, folks, but that's when it happens. Because in between your spooky season and Christmas, there's Thanksgiving. And I know a lot of people don't like to celebrate Thanksgiving because of this, that, or the other, you know. And it's to each their own, you know. Again, we don't get into the politics of things, we don't get into the religious of things, because if you really want to take religion back to its beginnings, every religion you celebrate is a pagan religion, okay? Was built off and based off of a pagan religion somewhere along the way. All right. So, and I'm not knocking your religion because I was a pastor for a year. So, if you didn't know that fact already. Yes, 100%. I love the Feast of Thanksgiving and I love the sharing too of it. Yes, 100%. Because that's the time when you can get people together that you normally don't get together and be like, hey, I don't know if you're struggling or not, but here you go. Here's some turkey. Here's some ham. Whatever you cook. I'm a traditionalist. I do the turkey with all the stuffing, the mashed potatoes, uh, the green bean casserole, all that good stuff. And do I go all out? Sometimes. Sometimes I get too big of a turkey. I usually try to find the biggest turkey I can, which is roughly right around that 25 to 28 pound range. And that way I've got plenty of leftovers. Because I love turkey leftovers after the fact. You stuff yourself while you're watching the footballs. and then you've got leftovers to do all your good stuff later on with turkey sandwiches, you know, turkey and some salad, all that good stuff. Now, I don't do the cranberry stuff. I just don't like that. Deep fried turkey and peanut oil, as long as it's not frozen when you stick it in there, which I've seen some horrible videos of that gone wrong. You know, the frozen turkey in the oil bath. Me, I'm a traditionalist with that too. I don't do the whole deep fried turkey, but I understand the concept, and I had it, and it's good. But I still do the whole baking. You know, get up early, get it started, let it cook on 250 to 300 for many hours. You know, while you have it breast side down to start, and then you flip it over halfway through the cooking process, and then you put the more of the butter and the alcohol bath over the top of it. It's not the best way to go. That's just extra oils that you don't need in your body. But again, to each their own on it, because everybody cooks theirs different. And mine comes out nice, juicy, and tender. Still cut into it, and the juices run out of it. It's all good. Now I'm getting hungry for breakfast. Maybe I should have some turkey for breakfast. No, I'm just kidding. And no, I'm not going to do the whole ranch covered uh, pizza rolls there, Roy. Yes, yes. And mine comes out with a crispy skin the way I do it, all the way around. Because, like I said, I start it with the breast side down. That way, all of the juice goes to the breast whenever it's there. And then, whenever I turn it over with about an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours left of the cook time, then that's already sealed in all that juice into the breast. And then you come back with it, flip it over, have breast side up, and then you put your alcohol wash over the top of it, and then you put your, which is a, hello, ballerina, welcome to the show, and howdy back, yeehaw. That's from Oklahoma side right there. And then after the alcohol bath, which is a white wine that I pour over the top of it, and then I put in then I put more of the butter wash over the top of that as well. So all of that comes together, gives it a nice crispy golden skin, and then we take it out, let it rest for just 5-10 minutes, and then we cut it up. So, and yes, it's got the traditional stuffed inside, the onion, the potato, the bay leaf, the thyme, the carrots, all that stuff shoved inside the cavity, for Thanksgiving. So, which I'm sure you can do that with a baked turkey as well, but I've never seen anybody do that side of it, yet. But that's just me. And hopefully you take out all the giblets and the neck and all that stuff from with the little bag and don't leave that in there. So, which I've seen people do that before. And and then you get some people that have never pulled that stuff out of a turkey before, and they're like, "What is all this? Oh, that's the babies." They're like, what? All the extra parts bag, the heart, the liver, all that good stuff. It's funny to see some people that have never messed with turkey before, and then they get to that part, and you can just mess with them all day long with that in. So, ballerina, did you do anything fun for Thanksgiving, or not Thanksgiving? I'm getting all of these ones we've already talked about right here. Did you do anything fun for Halloween? That's the question. That is the question right now. Everybody has on their mind, from Roy to Casey to whoever else is watching, because nobody else has made themselves known like you have, ballerina. And again, welcome to the broadcast booth. But no, we're talking about had a tree crash into my house. That's how this conversation started, and then we got into you know the whole end of spooky season. Some people keep it up all year round. Plus, uh, Spirit Halloween now has Spirit Christmas, where they transition into their Christmas stuff, but still with the spooky theme to it. So if ours transitions into that, I'm gonna be going and checking them out because my what's where I was heading was my Christmas trees have spooky theme on them. Plus, it has Marvel characters and any comic book characters and Hot Wheels and that it involve like the Batmobile and things like that on my tree. So we don't have the traditional, normal Christmas attire on my Christmas tree. So it is a comic book themed Christmas tree. Now the girlfriend wants to do a Christmas tree of her own so she can decorate it out the way she wants as well, um, which is fine and dandy and cool, and we'll do that because I have a Dallas Cowboy Christmas tree that stays in the office, during the holiday season, after Thanksgiving, because a lot of people have already put their Christmas tree up even prior to Halloween. So, and then there's those that just keep it up year round, just like their Christmas lights. That's not good for your lights, right? But I understand some people don't want to change them out year round, change them out after the holiday season, so they just leave them up on the edge and only light them up, during Christmas time. So, how do you celebrate all of those? Thanksgiving, Christmas, Halloween. Ah, Casey had a room once, 24/7 Christmas. All right, that's cool. You can say Christmas here. It's okay. Just like you can say, Thanksgiving. You can say all the normal stuff here. We don't play by the rule of, oh, it has to be, you know, Indigenous Persons Day or, any of that stuff. It's all what it is. The holidays have been around for a long time. So, like it or leave it, they're there, you know? And I doubt they're going to change anytime soon. So, all right. So, like I've been talking about, we've got all kinds of cool stuff happening. I've got the first page of the 8 page um, Man's Best Friend Condry for Legacy Comics done up. I'm going to send him a shot of it to see if he likes it and go from there with that. And I get it. I get it. 100%. I totally understand. Um, Maybe you need one of those little tablet keyboards for your phone. That way you can just and be done. Um, haven't had any real paranormal stuff happen here lately. Um, like I said, the tree falling into the house was about as paranormal as it gets here recently, which was Saturday evening. Um, let's see here. I still am gonna rework some of these older paintings. Oh, okay, okay. So you do have a keyboard for your tablet. Okay, cool. That's awesome. Oh, so you're watching from a tablet, not from your phone. Okay, that's awesome. That's very cool. I picked up two tablets from a. It's a discount store here in town. It's called Savers, and a mouse. Okay, cool. I got a mouse running around here that I need to kill. Um, he's annoying. Um, but we have a little place called Savers here in town. That's a discount store that everybody takes their donations to, and they resell stuff, and it's relatively cheap, from clothing to antiques to, I mean, a little bit of everything. Heck, people have even dropped off baseball cards and things like that. And so I found two tablets there for like $5 a piece, and they're running around here somewhere. Like I don't know where they are right now, but I've got to get those up and running the way I want them to. And because basically any gadgetry that I find there, I want to always turn it back into something I can use for the business. Um, that way I can put on, like a slideshow of the artwork, and if people want to see the artwork, up close and personal, they can ask for the book, because sometimes you just don't have enough room on your table for all your art books to lay out, those type things. And so I'm always trying to think of something innovative and ingenuitive, if you will. That way I can have slideshows happening, just like with this 3D thing that I'm working with back here that I still haven't got to work the way I want it to yet. Um, this way I can showcase my artwork, my logo, without having to be, like everybody else with just here's a banner, here's a this, here's a that. You know, I'm also looking at, Casey has sent me a few things, an interactive uh, podium, basically. It's rather expensive, by the way, just saying. So donations, please. Um, that would be very cool to showcase your artwork on, or even the logo to stand behind and all that good stuff. I'm also looking at some panels that are like, you see the cell phones of the future that are basically sheets of LED lights, basically, that create the image on it. And I'm looking at those just because, with that, it's a one time charge. You can always upload your product to that screen. Um, now, if you ever change your banners or anything like that, then you're getting a reprinting cost, and you're out, 200-300 bucks. Well, this I just have to get electricity at the show, every time, and just re-upload new images, to the slideshow, and then it's a better drawing point of people too, because you can have all kinds of stuff happening. You can have videos of your work while you're drawing it, all that stuff going, and it's just different aspects to look at because the world is changing. Um, and I'm seeing a lot of people griping about comic book conventions, uh, because anymore, whenever you go to a comic book convention, it is anime voice actors, it is a lot of anime and things of that nature. Whereas your traditional comic book artists are not there. You're having, again, more anime manga artists, you're having more anime manga voice actors, and it's just anime and not the manga, because manga, once it goes to the anime side, it all becomes anime. And I know that's a hard concept for some people to understand, but a manga and anime are two different things. Manga is the book side. Anime is the action video side, the cartoon stuff, or live action as well. Yes, lights and colors draw people in. And he's been sending me a lot of cool stuff, light show effects and things like that. I do have a smoke machine, but I doubt they would be happy if I brought that and smoked everybody out. Even on its lightest setting, it's pretty powerful. Um, so a lot of people are starting to gripe about, why is the only people you can get at a comic book convention anime and cosplay that only deal in anime side of things, and not your traditional cosplayers that dress up in your Marvel or your DC or your Image Comics characters and things like that. Um, so that's been some of the biggest downfalls for comic book conventions. And so, if you're going to be called a comic book convention, make that your primary goal of what you bring in, not something that doesn't portray comic books as much. Um, and I get that, because again, even at all the ones that I've been to, even some of the horror conventions and things like that I've been to, it is it's very hard to find your traditional comic book artist there at the shows. Now, at the one in SpaceCon, which is obviously not a conventional Comic Con, they had better comic book guests there than they did do at most of them that call themselves a Comic Con. And I see it, you know, and so that kind of discourages you from being there. Yes, that's why I did it on this. And this is a very colorful painting in and of itself as well. Just like the Ozzy Osbourne one that I'm going to have with his red chest piece, that he's got right here, that little demon head. with the flames coming up. That's going to be, a very cool shirt once I get the painting started on it. Because again, it's going to be in this same vein. The two Aussie pieces that I have done up, because I couldn't just settle on one. Um, because yes, the traditional Aussie that you see anymore before he passed away is basically all of him dressed in the black, you know, black t-shirts and the black jacket and all that stuff. And prior to that, he would have his shirt off. He would have, a t-shirt on that showed his tattoos all over the place. So I wanted to keep true to that, just like I did with Chester here. Now, most of the time when Chester was in concert and things like that, he had his shirt on, from what I understand. All the clips that I've seen of him on in concert, his shirt's on and all that stuff. So for him to show all of his tattoos like he did in this piece, um, my reference material for this one, it was very cool to see all that color, and so that's the hopes I get whenever I get down to the Aussie piece, is that it does translate well, just like the Chester piece here, on a black shirt as well. So I'm looking forward to that one. I really am, because a lot of people are looking forward to that one too. I've gotten a lot of comments on that piece, those two pieces, uh, for the Aussie pieces. So I'm looking forward to getting that one started. But in the meantime, while I've got that one started and I've got three going plus two more that I want to do, because I'm trying to capture a specific style, and I hope you guys will be able to see what style it is whenever I reveal the other three pieces, and because it's a style that I've enjoyed most of my life. Uh, One of my favorite artists, and if you've been here long enough, you know who that is. Uh, and he's not a traditional comic book artist. I do have my favorites in the comic book realm, but this is a different artist that's been around for a long time, and uh, I've loved their style ever since I saw it. And that was before a Playboy magazine. Okay, and again, that should give it away. If you know, you know, because we'll get into it later. Especially whenever I get the other two pieces drawn up. My first one in the style is Magic from the Marvel Universe. So I've already drawn her up, and she looks cool. She looks a little different than the typical Magic that you see people draw. Just because I did it in the style of this artist, and hopefully I can get it to translate as well as my mind is seeing it. Because this style is a little bit different to capture. So, uh, excuse me. And so, with the style that's going to happen, it's very sharp lines, even on the character in the picture. So, but again, if you know, you know. If you've been here long enough to hear one of my favorite artists, who they are, um, and they've been around all over the place. One of these days, I will own an original, um, but it's just hard to, shell out anywhere between 2,500 to say $10,000 for a painting or a picture. Um, it would be well worth it, but right now that's just not going to happen. So I will get there. I will get there. Trust me. So, in that same vein, I am doing another style for Condry, Man's Best Friend, the 8-page book that I'm working on for Legacy Comics, in the vein of Frank Miller. So all heavy blacks with white contrast to it all. Like I said, I got page one penciled in. I'm going to send it over to him, see if he likes it, and go from there. Um, and along the way, he's going to pick up items that he has in today's realm of the comic book. Because again, this is a gap filler. This is when he's about 20 years old and coming up through the streets of New York. So, uh, So a lot of New York research is going on, especially dark back alleys and things like that. So, but I think it's coming along nicely, uh, and we'll see how he likes it from there. So hopefully he enjoys it too. But again, this preliminary page that I've drawn up, hopefully he is okay with it and says go for it, black that thing in, and go from there. So I still got the two colors pages to do on those two mashups. I've got the inking to put in on those traditional inking. Yes, sir, 19.4K. So again, this is one of the mashups that I'm working on that I've got to add the color to. This is Kingdom Hearts and Blade Runner mashed up together with Sora and Decker fighting each other's counterparts in their movies or shows or the game. I think did they do a Kingdom Hearts cartoon or something like that? I don't know. I'm not a big newer cartoon fan, so and I don't play video games like a lot of these people do. And then mashup of two of the God of War characters, the villains. This is a Dreki and a Wolver mashed up. Gonna get some cool colors on it too, right there. And then, like I said on the other one, if you've seen my page, you see these out there. This is the straight version, just the line work right here on Condry. And then this is the Adobe Photoshop fill-in of the same piece right there. And so I'm going to take this piece and put in the heavy inks like I did in Photoshop here with this one, so that all of my heavy inks will look on here. So when it goes into the book, it'll look very cool instead of just straight up line work. Now I could leave it like this and not worry about it and just throw it in there so that people can see my line work outside of it being full heavy colored in, just like this piece right here, as opposed to its counterpart right here. Again, this one is taken, and why it says homage to Frank Miller right here, because I used his version of uh, A Dame to Kill For, cover number one, as my premise for this one right here. Because through this book, he meets a lot of interesting characters, including man's best friend. What is man's best friend, as they say? No, the book that I sent you was this one here. Dun, dun, dun. This one here, and then my book up here, which is that one there, which is Psycho Sound number 3, cover right there. That's my line work for that one. Those are the two that I sent you, Casey, right there. This is a new book. It's not even out yet. Now the covers are out there for digital purchase right now. No, 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 it's fine. They kind of look similar, and I get that. Um, a pre-order is available on this book right now, and you've got both of those covers available for pre-order out there. And so go get those now at legacycomics.com. And Legacy Comics is with an X instead of a CS at the end, right there. So just remember that. And so I'm digging this book so far. The covers just set it off, and hopefully I can get the interiors to match the covers. Um, since Frank Miller isn't my style of drawing, the way he does things, which is blocky and it's if you've ever seen the comic book Powers, um, they're blocky characters more so than they are your typical superhero look out there when it comes to think of Superman or the X-Men or Spider-Man and things like that have the nice line work that shows the true muscle and all that stuff. Um, Now at Oklahoma Discount Furniture. Yes, I remember those. It's like right here in Arkansas, Frank Rowe Furniture, best seat in the house. And I'm kind of glad that I don't see that commercial anymore because they closed that store here in Barling. Basically, the building is up for sale or up for lease, either one. That would be a cool comic book store because it's a huge space. But I've been looking at the old train and marine building. That would make a great opportunity for somebody right there. If I had the money, I would totally buy up that property and turn it into a permanent uh, event spot for comic book conventions and things like that. But Linda soundtrack, oh yeah. I mean, all those old stores back in the day that are no longer exist, or people, you know, uh, that you used to listen to. Like I can't remember their names right off the top of my head, but Rock 100.5 The Cat out of Oklahoma City. That was my channel. I didn't change from any of that. Yeah, Sound Warehouse. Oh yeah, it's just like Gibsons and TGNY and now. Well, I just found out that in Texas they still have a Toys R Us. So I might have to do a trip down to Grapevine, Texas. Uh, they have a Toys R Us down there still. Just found that out last month or the month before. I can't remember. I think it was last month. I saw a friend of mine posting pictures from there, and it was like, no way. I thought all those closed, but apparently not. Apparently not all of them. So, so apparently there is still some Toys R Us's out there if you're into Toys R Us. I was a big Toys R Us kid, uh, but I was older when I started going. So, but we all want to be that kid still. Um, that was always a fun place to find some good discounted action figures and things like that. Um, but yeah, nowadays prices, I'm sure they're not anywhere near what you would remember. But you could find a good clearance deal periodically whenever you went in there, especially the one they had here in Fort Smith before they closed it up, and it had some really good discounts towards the end. We ended up buying a lot of stuff whenever it did close down. It was like Hastings, Kmart, yeah, but this Kmart's are still around though. Ben Franklin stores, yeah, that's Ben Franklin. No, that's a thing of the past, just because basically that's what Walmart is today. So, um, but no, I mean, like here we had a place called I think I just said it, and now it's out of my brain. Um, Hastings, and it had everything in there at great prices, and used to go in there all the time because I mean they had, like I said, they had everything under the sun from vinyl to 8 tracks to cassette tapes to the VHS tapes to DVDs to Blu-ray and laser disc. I mean, they had magazines, books, toys, and all of this stuff is pre-owned stuff, that you could find in there. And it was just a great store to go into and just kill a couple hours just looking at everything. And I would walk out of there with a few items here and there that it was like, oh, I remember this as a kid, you know. And but you just don't find stores like that anymore. I mean, maybe I think that's all they could fit on them at the time. I don't know 100%, but maybe it was just because they could only put 8 songs on there. That's a good question. That's a good trivia question right there. Let's see if my computer will cooperate, and we'll find out. At 23.8 thousand likes, we are in the popular live show segment right now, folks. Thank you very much for all the likes and the love of the gifts. Those are always fun and well spent out there. Because again, everything that comes back in here goes back into the printing process of the business, and we wish we could do some fun things with that. The gift money that does translate into real money later on, but we don't. I mean, for me, the fun stuff is getting the prints going, and like I said, I'm still in the process of getting everything out there. Let's see, but I'm gonna say you're probably right that it was because it had 8 tracks on the 8 track. That's just too complicated. It's called an 8 track because the continuous loop of magnetic tape inside the cartridge has 8 parallel tracks for audio recording. These tracks are divided into 4 programs of 2 tracks each, and the 2 tracks in each program providing stereo sound, one for the left channel, one for the right channel. This this video explains blah blah blah. So technically you are correct, but they just put it in a lot more complicated way of trying to explain it. And like it says here, since albums often don't have songs of equal length, the order of songs had to be rearranged to fit the 4 equal length programs in a single loop. So it's just a complicated way to say yes, there's 8 tracks on an 8 track. And sometimes there's not even 8 tracks on an 8 track. But and I'm not gonna listen to that video. You already look annoying. The guy that's trying to explain it just looks annoying. That's just how it goes. All right. Yes, yes, it's a mixed track of. No, it's fine. I didn't even know because you always hear the stuff, and I've had 8 tracks because I had a car that had an 8 track player in it, and I had the Thin Lizzy Jailbreak 8 track, and I pumped that thing through the speakers until it decided it wanted to eat my 8 track. You know, I had the story of Star Wars on 8 track. You know, playing it through the speakers. On my push button AM FM radio in my that one was a 1980. I want to say it was a 1988 Ford LTD. I own 2 LTDs in my life. One looked like something out of a mobster movie, which was my 1974 Ford LTD. Jet black with red pinstripes, maroon interior, huge car. I mean, it. I mean, when the speedometer goes up to, you know, 200, in a massive car, fast car. And then I had that 1988 Ford LTD that had the more wood panel look to it, uh, driven by an older person, and it had an 8 track player in it. And it was working great until it decided it wanted to eat my Thin Lizzy Jailbreak 8 track in there, you know. Whereas the other one had a cassette player, even the 74 Ford LTD. Make that make sense. But yeah, no, it's all those things that you hear about back in the day, like the 8 track players and the laser disc and betas and all that good stuff. It's just like, why did they? decide to make some of these things that only lasted for like a year. Beta didn't last long. Laserdisc didn't last long. Hell, iPods didn't last long. They lasted longer than some things, but uh, what else didn't last long out there? Because tube TVs lasted for a long time before they went to projection TVs, the three color projection TVs with three bulbs in the back. What else? I'm trying to think of some of the old technology that no longer exists today. I mean, rotary phones. Most people don't even know how to work a rotary phone. You know, and it's just like all the stores we were talking about that we remember from back in the day. And we just talked about 8 tracks. Casey brought that up. Reel to reel. Oh yeah, 8 millimeter tape. I've got a ton of cameras and stuff like that in there that that deal with that type of stuff that you don't need a battery for. So if we do get an EMP hit, I can still run my cameras. you know, um, but yeah, no, so many things, so much technology that is rolled around that's not even out there anymore. I mean, Commodore 64s, Amigas. Um, these are computers. Texas Instruments doesn't even make computers anymore like they used to. I mean, all of the first computers, if you think about it, are like the walls in your house. That's how big the panels were that went into the computers. And they only kept like 1 megabyte of information on them, you know? And it's just crazy to see how far technology has come whenever you get hard drives that are like this, you know. Sorry, this is a tarot deck. It's not an actual hard drive. But when you get hard drives that are like this, that have like 228 terabytes or, you know, 500 terabytes worth of information can be held on a hard drive like this that you can toss in your pocket and carry with you, you know, keep your entire catalog of whatever in your pocket. Um, Remember the stills you spin and it looks like a movie, 1920? Oh yeah. Where it's like the little flip book in the little corner of certain books that you used to get, and you'd flip through it and it showed the like the movement going as you're flipping the pages. Yeah, and the old 1920s and even before that it was like 1910 to 1920 something. Um, yeah, it was on a wheel and it would flip through there as the player was going. I saw one of those pop up in a like Storage Wars or something like that. They didn't know what they had, and they're like, "Oh, this is one of those old dirty movie ones." It was like a burlesque show or something like that, and can't remember his name that bought it. He's like, "No, this is going home with me." My old lady's just gonna have to get used to it. But no, it's cool the technology that they came up with back in the day that now we take for granted now. And you know, it's just like some of those old vintage spinning light shows that did the same thing. That it would change the image on the wall, and it would look like something was moving, like an animal shape or whatever. But yeah, they experimented with that stuff back in the day just so that you could get a moving picture off of single stills, and so that was very cool. And now a lot of people try to emulate that in their style of artwork today, and it just doesn't translate well just because of the technology that we have now. Whereas before, like you said, it was on a flip chart basically inside this machine. As you're watching it, it's just flipping so fast as it's going through that each image that pops up is a different image. So it looks like it's continuously moving as you're watching this, as you're looking through these little binocular looking things. And it's like the old, and I can't remember the technical name for it, right off the top of my head. But it was this handheld goggle that you hold, you press it up against your nose. I've got one in there. And then it's got these slides that you put on it that have two images on it. Well, whenever you put this on and you slide it out, you can adjust it to your vision. Those two images come together as one image in the picture in the goggle. Kind of like a viewfinder, but they had a different name for them. It was before the viewfinder. I mean, it's the antique stuff that had the old Victorian pictures that had the two images together, and then on the card, um, I can't remember what it's called right off the top of my head. But those were cool. I mean, because that was bringing images to life for people for the most part, because it almost gave it a 3D effect in those glasses. And I'll have to pull those out and show you guys what I'm talking about on the next live show. Um, just because, I mean, it was cool stuff. I mean, and you just don't see stuff like that anymore. And again, people try to emulate, but it's just not the same. 1830s were the first pictures. I think I remember that. And it was you had to stand still whenever they exposed the picture. Um, all those type of cameras. Those were some that was some cool technology for it to burn on the plate and all that good stuff. You know, and a lot of the pictures you see and it's morbid. So right after Halloween, congratulations. Um, Denographs, yeah. A lot of the pictures that you see in antique stores, the people are not with us anymore as far as in that picture. They were already ready for the dirt, if you understand my meaning. Um, yes, tintype. That was some cool stuff right there too. But yeah, a lot of those pictures that you see in the antique stores of what looks like the person has got their eyes open, or even the kids that look like they're sleeping and things like that. Those people were no longer moving at the time those pictures were taken, because that's how they immortalized their children at that time whenever they did pass on. And it's very morbid to think about, but back then that's how they had to preserve their memories. And so there was specific photographers that did that type of work. Um, and and then right after that would be the funeral for the people. So, you got whenever. So there's an interesting fact. Next time you're in an antique store and you see some pictures of children or whatever, just remember they probably weren't even alive in those pictures. So, um, it's very interesting to see how society has changed over that type of memorializing, a passing. But that was the only way that they could keep that memory alive back then. And so, um, just very interesting facts of how they did things back in the day, back in the 1800s, like when photography came around, like Casey was talking about in the 1830s and beyond. And that practice only lasted for so many years, to be honest. Probably for about 10 years, I think. Now, I could be wrong on the number, but I think it only lasted about 10 years with that. So, just know that next time you see any antique pictures in a antique store, or even hanging up in a museum or something like that are from the 1830s, 1840s, uh, in that range, the person that you're looking at, even at the time that picture was taken, probably was not with us. You know. Yes. Yes. Post-mortem pictures of where you could still see the holes from the gunfights, all that good stuff. Yeah, those were pretty cool too. I mean, in a morbid sense, but since we're into Halloween and morbid stuff and monsters and all that good stuff on a regular basis, it's not so morbid, and it's that stuff is more readily talked about now than it ever was, you know. Even when the mobsters were roaming around, and yes, I know Las Vegas still has the mobsters and all that stuff. Yes, in 100% historical context, as we say, this is for entertainment purposes only. You must add that little disclaimer in there. So, but no, it's all cool. I mean, you just got to think about the different times, the different eras that people grew up in, and how it was completely different um, than it is today. I mean, today everything is sensationalized. You know, TikTok, Facebook, the news. Everything is sensationalized. This meteor crashed down and it hit me in the head. And then look at all these crystals that were in this meteorite. Those type things. That's how sensationalized the media gets with everything. And even though that's a crystal I dug up, it's not a meteorite. Some people get that extreme, when they're telling their story on the news or on their story in Facebook or TikTok or things of that nature, and I just tell it like it is. Tell us what really happened. We will never truly 100% know what happened through history because pretty much everybody that made history is gone. But just think, right now, you are making history. Your history, from the time you were born till the time you are no longer with us, you are making history. Your history, you know. You weren't expecting my Austin Powers fat bastard voice right there. Get in my belly! Corn! I didn't need corn! But we are all making history on a daily basis, you know. And we are we are history. Even if you were born in 2000, you've got 25 years of history, you know. Some of us, I've got 54 years of history. Do I have all of it? No. Do I remember all of it? No. But you can start writing down what you remember. You can start historizing your own life, starting now, going back as far as you can remember. I've got pictures of myself right down here from when I was a kid, from all the handmade clothing that my grandmother made, all the colorful shorts that I that I was made to wear. Um, as I look back on some of those, it's just like, why did I wear those? Because they were a heavy material that she made them out of, and she did a great job. She was a great seamstress and a barber, but you know, it's not stuff that everybody else was wearing. You know, so it was all unique styles. Sometimes I would have some lobster shorts going on, some green with red lobsters all over them. But I wore it because my grandmother made it. I didn't care. Make fun of me, I'll punch you in the face. You know, it's like that whole Eddie Murphy skit. We got McDonald's, you got the welfare burger. All that stuff, and I love my burger. All that good stuff, and you don't know, that you're different. You just know that your grandma's making you clothes. And she started making me the workout pants. I love those things. They had the Velcro right here that you could flip over, and so it made these huge wings. And you can make it as tight as you wanted. To keep them up, and not the Hammer pants. Can't touch this. Boom, 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 boom. No, nothing like that. But they were cool workout pants, is what they were, and a lot of people were wearing them back in the day, especially in the 80s. And of course, most of them had a big logo right in the middle, a big rectangle logo that the Velcro was right at the edge of that, and so whenever you put your Velcro on, you still saw that logo right in the middle. Well, mine didn't have that, you know. but I still wore them like crazy because they were comfortable and they were fun. And no, not the ZZ Top version. A Velcro fly. Nothing like that, you know. Nothing that crazy. I did have Velcro flies, but not in those pants. Because those pants, you just undid them and did your business, you know? All that good stuff. But no, life and things change throughout. And start writing down your history. Those of you that are watching right now, start writing it down. Either voice memo it, which you have voice memo on your phone as well. You've got your recording programs on your computer, if you have a computer. Tablets have it as well, but you got to remember there's a limited amount of memory on a tablet for the most part. Um, Laptops, handhelds, anything that can record your memo or whatever. Start making your history because you've already lived your history so far. Those of you that again that have only had a short amount of history, say 15, 18, 20 years, you should remember most of your history. Now, I don't remember seeing the bright light of day whenever I was born, like some people can recall. I remember everything went bright whenever I was born. Well, duh. Everybody's going to say that, because, oh, you're seeing light for the first time, coming out of that cave. And, and so, you know, everybody can recall that. I mean, even if you don't recall it, yeah, that I remember that bright light, and it wasn't while I had my heart attack either. So, but no, we can all write our history. And that's our history, you know, because no one else can take that history away from us. A lot of people would put cancel culture on our history, just like in 1966. I mean, you were around for Woodstock, brother. Were you there? And that's some of the questions that people get asked. Oh, you were around then? Did you go to Woodstock? I was like 8 years old, so no, I wasn't at Woodstock. I wasn't, but I wasn't born until after Woodstock. So all that free love and peace and prosperity, you know, hugs, not drugs. I was 5 at Woodstock. My brother was there. See, there's history. And you, Casey, you've got an awesome piece of history that needs to be told. You know, there's an idea. Your corresponding book with CD, even if it's of the covers, of your history of meeting Elvis many times. You know, a lot of people can't say that. I was alive when Elvis passed. Did I ever meet him? No. Have I met a lot of celebrities along my journey so far? Yes. From being the escort with Walmart at the meetings, met a lot of celebrities that way. Very cool, some of them, not all of them. And then going to comic book conventions, meeting a ton of celebrities, commenting on my artwork, you know, which is always cool to get compliments from artists out there. You have a great niche of history that you could put into a tabletop book format with a CD of your music. Again, even if it's cover, doesn't matter. You can make that happen because that's your history. And you've got a lot of cool stuff to talk about, you know. Me, I just do a show. My history is being written right here, you know. Is it all fun and games? No. But it's history. 2 divorces, 2 heart attacks, corresponding to each. No, no. Only one of them was while I was married to ex number 2. Did I? Well, I had both heart attacks when I was married to her. But maybe that's a coincidence. Good luck to her new husband. Let's put it that way. What's up, Jack the Ripper? How is London these days? Did you have a good Halloween, Jack the Ripper? Annette, welcome to the broadcast. And nice name, sir. Yes, 100%. Jack the Ripper is one of those historically augmented figures that did they tie it to the right person or, you know, all that good stuff. Awesome. There's a lot of coffee drinkers up in here right now. Not me, though. My coffee is my V8 natural energy juice. Right here. Dun, 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 the peach mango, the best one that they have. So V8, please be my sponsor. That way I can get free endless supplies of V8 energy, peach mango, and do not change the mixture that you have here. Oh, cool. Who was your cousin? And how old as far as your cousin goes? How far back? Because I stopped watching wrestling in the mid 90s because didn't care too much about it after that. All of my stuff comes from the 1970s and 1980s and early 1990s. Like I said, up until about 95, 96 is when I stopped watching wrestling on a regular basis. So, Jack the Ripper, who is your cousin? Oh, yeah. There's so many that are. I've got my picture with gentleman Chris Adams because my son didn't want to get into the ring. So I got up there with him in one arm and gentleman Chris Adams. We were both giving the thumbs up. And my son's like, ah! Fun times, fun times. I've got that picture running around somewhere. So we're waiting to see who Jack the Ripper's cousin is. The turnbuckle eater. There was a lot of turnbuckle eaters, but there was one in particular. Kabuki used to eat the turnbuckles. No, what's his name? Had the green tongue. Good morning. Stopping in to say hi before going to work. Have a good day. Well, have fun at the not so fun work job right now. So I'm sorry for all that. What was his name? The animal. George the Animal Steel, maybe? He used to eat the turnbuckles on a regular basis. Thank you for the likes, the shares, and don't forget to like, share, and follow, and go up here if that's where it is for you. George the Animal Steel, awesome. That's very cool. I appreciate the hat and mustache. That's always a fun one to get, especially when it puts it on you as you're talking throughout the day. Those are great. But yeah, George the Animal Steel, he was a fun one to watch. All that hair, bald head, green tongue. He was a character, that's for sure, in the WWE realm, and great wrestler, and and the many turnbuckles that they had to replace after each match. That's good stuff. Jack the Ripper, that's cool. See, that's history that needs to be written about your cousin. You know, that's what we were talking about. Writing your history, getting it out there from what you can remember and to what you were told by your parents or grandparents about your childhood. You know, get that stuff written down, get that stuff going. That way, you've got a lineage of history that can't be taken away because it's written down, it's passed on to your children or family, if you don't have children and things of that nature. So that way, a lot of history that we get that's only from memoirs and things like that. And yes, sir, 37,500 likes. But like I was saying up here before I got off onto the history lesson, um, get that stuff written down. Get it to where, you know, it's not a fill in the blank of your life like history is filled in. Because we have historical accounts from certain people, but yet there's still gaps in there because we don't know everything that happened on a daily basis with all this historical facts that are out there, you know. And then people that want to rewrite the historical facts because no, I think this is what really happened, you know. No, write it down, memorize it, put it on a recorder, put it on your voice memos. Oh, you going? You leaving? Oh, you going to Betty Bye? Oh, how cute. But if you drank an energy drink, you know you're not going to sleep, Mister Roy Joe, queen of the queen of the Stone Age. We'll leave it at that for you. Bye, Roy. Have a good day. I know you'll be texting me here in a little bit. Mr. Red Panda Bean, welcome to the broadcast booth, everybody. So write your history down so that there can't be any gaps in there that people can interpret. No, this is what happened. This is what really happened in his life. No, I was there. I know what happened in my life. So this is how it went, you know. But you're always going to have people that want to interpret things in their own light, in their own way. No, this is what really happened. You know, and this is what I think really happened. It's just like, no, this is the proof, and here's the pictures to go with it. Since from the point of this point to this point, I have pictures, you know, to prove. Yeah, and see, that's great memories to have. You know, me as a kid, when all that was going on, I could care less. You know, but as you look on it back, as you look back on a lot of things now, it's just like that was straight up history that you were watching, you know, unfold before your eyes. Just like, you know, the Challenger, you know, um, getting destroyed, you know, on national television. We were watching it in school, in our history class. Miss Unruh, one of my greatest teachers in school. Um, we were watching it, and then boom, there it went, and we're all like this. And she quickly walks over to the TV, pushes the button off, and we're all just sitting there, and we're just like, don't think that was supposed to happen. And so then we started talking about it. You know, what did we just witness? We just witnessed history. We saw it personally live, you know, on TV, and it's just like, wow. And then everything else that we see in our lives that we've seen or witnessed or been a part of, not been a part of, but we've witnessed it because of the sensationalized news that has brought it to us in our face, you know. And yes, the '68 comeback special. Again, I wasn't there for any of that. Um, you were there for most of that because you are a little bit older than I am, just by a couple years. But you know, my brother probably remembers some of this stuff. You know, because he was born in '63 or '64, I think. So even though he was a young lad, you know, for some of this stuff, he still remember. He could still possibly remember some of this stuff. You know, and it's just like, why why aren't we writing this stuff down when we're younger? You know, why aren't we documenting some of this stuff at a younger age? Because the brain slips. Sorry for hitting that. The brain slips. The You don't remember everything that happened. You do have pictures of your childhood. You know, I do anyway. Now, some people might not because of circumstances. They didn't have the camera. They didn't. Uh, uh, the house burned down. You know, the house got flooded. Pictures and stuff were lost. You know, my some of my pictures went through a house fire. You know that my mother still has, and she still got a lot of pictures that I don't have, but I've got quite a bit of them here at the house. I'm supposed to be scanning them in, but I haven't done that. Into the computer and keeping them and keeping them safe, and then getting them all back to her. But you know those type things. Um, and it's not just of my life; it's of everybody's life, from people that I've never met to like aunts, uncles, grandparents, things of that nature. Relatives that I've never seen before in my life, you know, and but I've got all these pictures, you know, and it's just like all that history, all that knowledge that is gone now. Because I have no grandparents left. I have no aunts and uncles except for one aunt. I've got countless, nieces and nephews and things like that. Uh, my cousin is still out there. Well, both of my cousins are still out there. But my parents, my dad passed away a long, long time ago in the 80s. My mom is not long for this earth, you know. Um, and those are history and memories that are going to be gone soon. You'll be sitting around a table and remember when, you remember how, all that good stuff. Um, and you just got to look back, and it's just like all that history that's about to pass on. You know, why aren't we documenting that history now? And so that's something to think about. Start thinking about that history, and why aren't you putting it down? You know, as of right now. And me, I document a little bit here and there. I will most likely write a memoirs book myself. Um, but we'll see how that goes. I'm not a writer. I never have been. I know there's a lot of AI programs that can help you write, but that's not me. I'm not an AI guy. Everything I do is traditionally hand drawn. You know, unlike, oh look, I'm an artist now. Look, tippity type, tippity type. Oh, there we go. I just created artwork in 5 minutes because I wanted I wanted Lion-O to look like he was being eaten by a tarantula that has a body of a dragon. And oh look, I just typed all that in, and boom, there it is. And if you don't know who Lion-O is, he's from the Thundercats. He's right here. You know. And so, um, I'm sorry, but that's not an artist. Case in point. A lot of people say, well, it is art. No, it's not. It is not art. Sorry. I know AI can do some great things, but you know that's why I'm happy that your actual comic cons and things like that cancel AI generated artists at their shows. Um, and I've seen booth after booth that has been shut down because they've got AI artwork included in their booth, claiming it to be their own. And they put little notes on the table. Sorry that this person isn't here anymore because we found out that they do AI artwork and they got booted from the show. And I've seen it. People that have gone to comic book conventions here that this year have been taking pictures of booths, with the person's signage to let you know who they are. Um, and the big sign on the table that says they were booted because they've got AI generated artwork. You know, and kudos to that comic book convention because you know that is not artwork. I'm sorry. A lot of people love it because of what it can do and what it looks like, but it's not artwork. Sorry. You can tell me it is till you're blue in the face, and I will tell you it's not till you're blue in the face because I'm not going to hold my breath over it. You know. And me being a traditional artist that does everything by hand, whenever you're just typing into the computer into a program that makes the artwork for you, that is not art. Sorry. You might have an imagination for artwork, and if you do, get it out there, but not in AI format. I'm sorry. Here's how much I detest AI. I don't even have it on my phone. I've got it turned off. I don't have it on my computers. Even though they suggest, hey, here's this AI suggestion, up yours, you can keep your AI suggestion. So there you go. That's just me. And I know a lot of people use AI, and I know a lot of people like the AI videos on TikTok or Reels and on Facebook and things of that nature, or even on YouTube. But again, not for me. Will never be for me. You know, again, I could have my book written or my comic book written by AI if I wanted to, but that takes the personal touch out of it. Me, I'm over here tippity typing, putting down my thoughts in my comic book and writing it myself. You know, yes, I'm only on page 18 of book one, but that's 18 pages that came from me, not from an AI program. You know, and sorry, I see a little piece of something that shouldn't be there. I don't think. Yeah, wasn't supposed to be there on Freddy Krueger. So, but there you have it, folks. Um, write your history now. Get that written down so that people can't say that no, this is what really happened in that person's life. This is the real person that they were. No, you don't know the real person because you're only there for a portion of that person's life. Like my kids don't even know me now as who I used to be. Yes, they were with me up until that first divorce, and then they were with me only every other weekend for the second marriage, and now they don't even talk to me because of whatever ex-wife number two that had no real margin in their life other than being a stepmother and not a very good one at that, um, because she didn't even want them there, told them as the truth, you know. And have they asked me what my side of the story is? Not a bit. The youngest one has cut me off on everything, as far as I know. Blocked me on probably her phone, even if she still has the same phone. I don't know if she does or not. She's blocked me on all social media. My oldest one has probably restricted me on certain things on social media. But that's how it goes. They're believing the truth of someone that was only in their life for this amount of time over their own father. You know, and but they're adults. They can do what they want. My oldest is in her 30s, and my youngest is in her mid 20s. 24, 25, somewhere in that range. And so they can make their own decisions. They are adults, and if they want nothing to do with me ever again, yeah, it hurts, but it's life. You move on. You go on, and I contact them on a regular basis, and all I get is crickets back. You know, so you know it is what it is. On that note, I keep trying to reach out, and they keep no, 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 or maybe not even read it. I don't know. You know, so but again, is what it is, and that's life. Do you want your family, your own flesh and blood, in your life? Of course you do. You don't want to wander off this mortal coil without, having your family there with you. But that could be what happens to me. Who knows? You know, and circumstances change as life goes on, and they could realize that hey, we've been in the wrong. We haven't even talked to dad in almost 4 years now. So because this month, as of the 11th, I believe, will be 4 years since I've heard hide or hair from them. You know, and I know that they've been in town multiple times in those 4 years since the divorce uh, happened. And you know, it's like, well, you don't know everything that went on behind the scenes just for you to even make your appearance in Fort Smith with me. Because the now ex-wife of 4 years ago, as of the 11th, when the divorce was finalized, um, didn't even want you in her house, didn't want you in her space. So much to the point where she scrubbed anything of hers from the bathroom. She took snacks out of the pantry so that you wouldn't eat them all, you know? And it's just like she detested you being there 90% of the time because you were invading her space. And you got a little rambunctious or, this, that, or the other. And, their kids, even though young adults, you know, teenage years for my youngest at the time. And it's just like, so, for you to side with her throughout all of this makes no sense, So, again, don't know what she told him, don't know what her truth was, but, 4 years of no contact with your own kids, it sucks, you know? But you live life and you move forward. Like I said, I contact them on a regular basis. But again, to no avail. I get crickets. That's about it. So, um, that's that. Um, we are looking forward to doing a lot of cool stuff, a lot more cool stuff, if you will. And like I said, once I get these paintings going on the Ozzy Osbourne painting, and then the other three paintings that are going to be done in a specific style, and hopefully you can pick up on the style, because like I said, if you've ever been here long enough, and if you've been here long enough, you know the style that I'm talking about and who the artist is. Um, and you'll hopefully be able to see it as soon as I unveil them, the next three. So that I'm looking forward to them 100%. Just like I'm looking forward to getting this book finished, wrapped up, and gone uh, onto the printer so that he can have it and get it ready. And like I said, the pre-orders are already available on Legacy Comics uh, website right now, and go check it out. Go check out his other stuff too at Patrick Hickey Jr.'s website, legacycomics.com. And he's got a lot of cool, interesting books out there. Condry being one of them. The Job, which encompasses, like he said, think Point Break with WWE wrestling, and go with that route. But he's got a lot of cool stuff. He's always writing a ton of books out there, comic books, and then he's got artists that bring it to life for him. So look for everything that he's got, and look for my book coming out whenever I get back to it. I just haven't worked on it here in a while. It's probably been about 6 months since I worked on my last writing, you know. So I'm looking forward to getting back into that. I need to find another program outside of Office 365 because I really hate the Office products. And I really hate, and I'm going to do some more research because I'm sure there's some free programs out there that are like Office 365. But, and I don't use everything that Office 365 has to offer. Word is basically all I use. Excel, I used to use it a little bit more, but I kind of stopped using it 100%. So I need to find another writing or another program, another word type program, and I'll do my research on that. I know there's plenty out there. I just haven't done the research on so I can transfer my Word documents over to it and go on because I hate paying for subscriptions. I really do. Um, Especially whenever I'm only using it for one aspect of, what it all can do. I used to use a little bit more of the 365 stuff, but whenever you're only using the Word document out of it, it's not. There's no sense in having the rest of it, you know, because it's got what, five other programs and six or other programs inside of it or something like that. And if you're not going to use them, why pay the subscription for it? It's just like why I don't use Adobe products today. Number one, they've got AI incorporated with them, so that's a no go for me. That's why I've got my ancient piece of history right here in my CS4 right here, Adobe Creative Suite 4, that I still use to this day because it does everything I want it to do. Yeah, it's not as powerful as today's Adobe, which is a paid subscription, by the way. And that's another reason I hate it because you're having to pay a subscription and everything gets stored on a cloud. And in that cloud, they can take your artwork and use it for themselves, as I've read about it. So it's just like, no, I'm good. I'll use my old program, and have it set up and go that route. So, but that is that. Oh, and I've been taking a bunch of my old recordings that I've been finding for my EVP sessions and running them through different programs. I've got two different programs that I'm converting them over to WAV files so I can put it through this one program so that I can listen back and see if there's anything cool that I missed the first time. And I do think I missed a couple of things on one of the recordings, but hopefully I can narrow that down and get it amplified enough to see if it is true. Because there's one of them I think I hear a female voice in there as we're doing a session out in the woods, you know, out in the middle of nowhere, and this faint voice comes through, you know, so that's kind of cool. And don't forget, don't get hit by a meteorite out there to get sensationalized by the news, you know. So that shocked Casey right there. We're at 50,000 and 0.2 likes. Popular live video right here, right now. So we appreciate that. But we are going to kill it for today so I can get on to some of this artwork and get moving and grooving. Got animals that are going to be wanting to get up with this whole time change and stuff like that, which just abolish, you know, daylight savings times 100% altogether. But I love you guys out there. Tell everybody you love them out there because you never know when your time is up. So, but, and that's not a foreboding thing, you know, it's just truth. So, again, as I like to say as I leave you guys, we will catch you on the flip side. Have a good day, everybody. You stay safe too, brother.